a few audience, but this video will be recorded and it will be uploaded to the Talent Pavilion site.
Okay, sure.
So you can be played year round.
No problem. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, welcome to the Talent Pavilion. So this session is about FinTech job skills in demand and NUS MS in digital financial technologies. So I'm Dr. Huang Kewei. I'm from the Department of Information Systems and Analytics, School of Computing, and NUS. At the same time, I've been working for Asian Institute of Digital Finance, which is a new FinTech research center at NUS. So I also provide a very brief introduction about AIDF later. So the agenda of my talk today is I'll spend roughly 20 minutes to give you an overview about what is FinTech and what are the typical FinTech employers, and what are the examples of FinTech job roles, and what are the skills for those job roles. And then I'll move on, spend roughly 20 minutes to give you an overview about the program and program structure, curriculum design of our new master program, and briefly also the PhD program at AIDF. And then I'll open up to the Q&A session. Okay, so what is FinTech? So in general, it's a broad class of technologies. If you know nothing about FinTech, you may think FinTech is something, one type of technology, but actually it's not. It's a very loosely defined, broadly defined term. So it refers to many different types of technologies used for financial services. So the more precise definition I share with you is the technologies that can enable new financial products or services. That is FinTech. Or it could be some kind of new technologies that can make the existing financial transactions more efficient, more scalable, more secure, more efficient. That also considered as FinTech. So it's a very broadly defined term. It means several new types new technology that can enhance or create innovations in finance. Okay, so next slide. Yeah. So I believe some of you come from the background of computer science, but you are interested in FinTech. And also some of you come from the private business school background. You want to learn more about what exactly is FinTech and what are the technology related to that. So I'll give you a very brief overview about what is financial services, especially for the computer science background students or engineering students. Probably you know almost nothing about finance from your training, your classes. So the financial services, it means several types of services, which I categorize here. So the first large type, I believe all of us experience it. It means any kind of transaction, non-financial transactions, which means you buy some products or service in your real life. You have to pay money, right? So that's what I mean, the payment, the non-financial transactions payments for individuals or companies. Okay, so I assume most of you probably are students or just started working. You are not the entrepreneur, or you're not the you're still not the employees for a company. So a lot of the transactions is your own consumptions. So when you buy something, a lot of time is not by cash, right? So nowadays, we use more and more credit card. So all of the credit card companies, Visa, MasterCard, American Express in USA, and also banks, they are related to processing your transactions and through credit card or debit card. So there are also increasingly much more mobile payment services. Probably many of you are more familiar than I do. And I think this kind of new products are usually adopted by the younger generation much more than the older generation. So for example, GrabPay, the older one actually is the PayPal on the internet, right? So the recent one are GrabPay, Alipay, WeChat Pay. You can use the new mobile payment services to pay other people in exchange for some kind of products or services. Or sometimes you can share the bill with your friends. So all of those are one large group of financial services. You facilitate the transaction and then the associated money transfer or payments. So the second type probably is what you have in mind about what is finance. That's the allocation of funds. So in economics theory, the original say incentive why we have a lot of banks is because a lot of people, they have an excess fund or money. They need somewhere to save their money. So we have the banks. They deposit their money into banks, right? It could be individual, it could be company. At the same time, there are some people, they need to borrow money. And then they borrow the money to buy something, right? It could be they do some kind of, say, for example, they buy the housing mortgage loan, they buy car, they pay tuition fee, or they just buy any smaller goods. And it could be for companies to buy equipment for investment. So it could be also you just borrow the money to buy stocks, right? That's also say moving the money from one party to another party. That's the original idea why we have bank as an intermediator to facilitate the allocation of funds, to help the people who need to invest or save. There's a institution, they can save their money and earn some interest or return. And for the people, they want to borrow money, they have somewhere to borrow. Nowadays, it becomes more and more complicated, but all of the related services, they are considered as financial services. Okay, so for example, I listed more precisely here, the banks and related to investment brokers, mutual funds, insurance company. These are the companies where you can invest. At the same time, I give you the overview. So these are the companies, all of the companies on these slides are the potential FinTech job roles employers. So these three types, and related to the financial transactions, a lot of time we also have the exchanges, right? If there's a stock exchange and there are futures exchange, options exchange all over the world. So there are smaller exchange. For example, the hot one, a very popular one is the cryptocurrency exchanges or other types of digital assets exchanges. So all of these can be considered as the related financial service related to allocation of funds. Okay, so without learning finance, probably you don't realize another very large category of the financial service is the allocation of risk. Say there is some new, relatively new financial instrument assets that can help the individuals or companies to reduce the risk. For example, the easiest example to understand is insurance companies, right? A lot of us, you may buy health insurance, travel insurance, life insurance to reduce the risk. Insurance company, they take a lot of money in, and then at the same time, they also need to invest in somewhere else. So those are the financial services. And for the companies, investment banks play a major role to help them manage their money, reduce various kind of business risks or financial risks. Okay, so these are the examples of financial services. So the FinTech, like I mentioned in the very beginning, it means there is some kind of new technology. When we applied it in the traditional financial services, then it's a FinTech. So of course, there are more traditional technology, like just some kind of software development, some kind of website app or database. But more important, say FinTech innovations usually build upon the ABCD I listed here. A means the artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing. D means the data analytics. So for a new FinTech startup, usually they use one of the ABCD and applied it in one of the financial services I mentioned on the previous slides, and that they have some unique product or service offering to their customers. So the entrepreneurs start their own business based on that. So the artificial intelligence, roughly speaking, it's a set of new algorithms, new technology that can help the computer to make decisions, to see image, to understand document as human being. You can also listen, you can write, you can create article, create image, more like human beings. Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about that soon. So the blockchain technology is a new disruptive technology. Earlier, all the financial transactions is centralized. The blockchain enables decentralized ledger. Okay, so it's a more complicated and less intuitive than AI if you never heard about it. So the cloud computing I think nowadays we all use internet. So in some sense, you are using cloud computing every day. So all of the storage, computing, processing power is also centralized to the internet by another clusters of computer, which you didn't really see. In old days, before internet, all of the computing and storage is on individual computer. Right now, a lot of us, you put your files on Google Drive or you put it in Dropbox. Those are the easiest to understand examples of cloud computing. So the data analytics means together with the advance in machine learning, AI, so there are more and more forecasting model and the application that can help the companies to predict something that will bring in a lot of business value to their operation. Okay, so roughly speaking, those are the data analytics. So the examples of FinTech services are provided on this slide. So this slide is from the 2020 FinTech Talent Survey. Very soon we'll have a new survey this year. This is from last year's survey. So the question to the FinTech startups in Singapore is, which is the main FinTech service your company operates in? So you can see this list. So this one provides the next level. What exactly is FinTech? So the largest category, like I mentioned, is a payment solution. If you don't have an idea, you can think of it as a PayPal, say, like I say, GrabPay or WeChat Pay. Of course, this kind of startup, they have something different. They target to either unique group of customer or have some new business model. So the second group, peer-to-peer lending. There are a lot of online, because the traditional bank actually doesn't really lend money to SME or individual without any guarantee. Say, if you don't have any assets with the bank, then they don't really lend money to you. So there are more and more lending innovations on the internet. Okay, so the normal people, they can easily lend money to another ordinary people, random people from the internet, roughly speaking. And there are a lot of innovation in the insurance tech and a lot of innovation based on blockchain, which there are many variety, and AI machine learning applications, savings and investment. So cybersecurity, money transfer, regulation tech, cryptocurrencies. So these are the next levels of the examples of the FinTech services. Okay. So in Singapore, in 2020, we have roughly 1,000 FinTech startups, and it grew 10 times from 100 FinTech startups in 2015. So it's growing very fast every year. And also Singapore is considered as the largest, most important FinTech hub within ASEAN countries. And globally, we also rank very high, similar to our role as a financial center. So you can see these numbers. So the FinTech talent demand is also quite optimistic and promising. According to the FinTech Talent Survey, even during the COVID-19 year in 2020, the majority of the survey respondents are still very optimistic about Singapore's FinTech growth, and they are also still expanding very fast. The FinTech Talent Survey, it's a free public document on the internet. You can, if you are interested in, you can Google, you can download it. You can also see the 2019 one or 2018 one. So exactly the question, this one, do you intend to expand your current workforce in the next 12 months? You can see overwhelming majority of the respondents, they say yes, they will hire more people in the FinTech area. Okay, and the COVID-19, you can see from this part, COVID-19 doesn't affect that much. So in general, although COVID-19 affect our daily life a lot, very, very significantly, probably nothing more than COVID-19, right? But from the business perspective, it seems to me the impact is not as bad as the 2008 financial crisis. Several industry benefits. One is the IT e-commerce industry, right? They actually benefit because every one of us are locked in home. We do everything on the internet rather than doing something physically in person. Okay, the other one, financial industry, also doesn't seem to hurt that much. So together, most of the FinTech companies, they seem still quite optimistic about hiring more people or expanding their business. So in the survey, directly to our talk today, is they also ask those potential FinTech job employers for among the 13 categories of FinTech job roles, what are the one you plan to hire more people? So there are 6 out of 13 categories. The FinTech employers, they plan to recruit more. So sorry for the smaller font size. The first category is software and application developer. The second one, network infrastructure, cybersecurity, data scientist in short, and the AI machine learning engineer, and the designer of user interface. Okay, if you don't know the jargon. So later I'll talk about our FinTech master program. So our master program targets training 3 types of job role: the software developer, data scientist, AI machine learning engineers. So these 6 categories out of 13 categories, they are say there is a talent demand gap between the supply and the demand, and the company need more of this kind of say professionals. So we focus on these 3 because for the network and the infrastructure and the cybersecurity, I would say they are less relevant to the finance domain. That means these 2 types of job, definitely they are for computer science students, okay? And for those professionals, IT professionals, they also need to know less about the finance, say all of the finance business model, operation, what is the investment theory, portfolio theory, or derivatives. They don't really need to know that, right? They just need to know how to maintain the networking infrastructure, database infrastructure, enterprise system infrastructure very well, or they need to know how to prevent hacker. Okay, so but the other one more or less related to the finance, existing finance model, business model theory, like building a software, and so you need to know the customer's demand, right? So the data science actually knowing the algorithm is not that critical. You need to have the domain knowledge, know how to model the problem well, predict well. That's the key point. And that part is less computer science. It's somewhere between, you need to know both computer science and the finance so you can do it well. So these 2 actually is similar and related. It's different in the sense that, for example, in the FinTech area, we also need AI machine learning for building, say, for example, chatbot, right? So when you have any questions, you call or you type and ask questions. It is the AI replies your questions rather than the human being replies to your questions. So that's definitely AI machine learning. And there is also one area a lot of financial institutions, they are working on, but that's not data science, right? Nothing related to forecasting model or data modeling, although underlying algorithm is similar. So that's why there are 2 separate categories. So the next move, 1 layer down. So what are the more concrete examples of the job roles? So if you go to those job websites, you will see FinTech software developers. That probably is the largest category in terms of FinTech jobs. So the second type, the FinTech product support engineer, it's similar to this one. So it's a generic to all of the software development jobs. There are some of the programmer, they really build the product. But for the enterprise system, a lot of time you need to do a lot of customization. So you need to integrate this product together with the existing systems at the client's company. Then we need another set of custom engineer. And also we need engineer to solve the problems of the customer, answer the questions, to debug, to solve the problem, and also upgrade, maintain. That also need a lot of software engineer. So that's the difference between these 2, but both of them are technical job roles. You need to have certain sufficient knowledge about that software system. And the third one, probably these 2 are very popular. And then the third one is financial data analyst. In general, it's data scientist, data analyst, but focusing on the finance domain for investment, for banking, for insurance company. Then we also have several job roles related to blockchain technologies. It could be about cryptocurrency, front end or back end, or a little bit more about the business aspect. Or the blockchain can be used for smart contract, which is another more promising, even more promising application than the cryptocurrency. So we also have cybersecurity analysts in all of the financial institutions, because you can imagine those are banks. They have a lot of money, or if there's an exchange, they also have a lot of money. So those are the target of hackers. They will target at those companies, try to steal the money. They won't target at NUS to talk. There's no money for them to steal, even they hack into my computer, for example. So these are the cybersecurity, which the demand is very high. But it's a very unique area. There are not that many students they are interested in studying from my observation. So the next one, FinTech quant analyst. So about 20, 30 years ago, I would say financial engineering is a very hot job in demand. So there are a lot of students, they like to study financial engineering, and after graduation, it's very easy to find a job. But now in recent years, it's getting less and less. It's a little bit out of fashion. I hope I didn't offend anyone. So a lot of that kind of job role, the employer, they will require the student know more about the modern machine learning algorithms, or say data science knowledge, how to handle, process the data by data mining algorithm, rather than just know those traditional financial engineering, financial math. So that's this category. And the last three bullets, of course, this kind of FinTech job role also include more traditional business school, business-oriented job role. For example, the market research, product manager, analyst for all types of financial FinTech products. And also we need some compliance manager to make sure the product quality is good enough, or it meet the regulation of the regulator, because most of these are financial products. The central bank all over the world, they will have a set of rules. So the rule typically it's quite complicated for normal people to understand. So we need a lot of lawyer, compliance managers to make sure everything is right. So, and then what are the skills for those job roles? Half of them, they are programmer type of jobs, right? So the software developers, they need to know programming languages. So all of the computer science programs, they will provide training in C++, Java, and the student, computer science student, usually they learn a lot of the languages. The reason is all of these programming languages changes very fast. Maybe every 5 years, there's a new and a better programming languages. Okay, and then so they need to know a lot of the programming languages. But if you know the important one like C++ and the Java, the others are very easy to learn. And also the newer programming languages are also more easier to pick up. And they need to know database technology, database, how to operate database, theories about database, and how to write SQL commands or related programs. They need to know how to build a website. They need to know how to build the apps. And the optional is the blockchain programming. If you don't work for blockchain, then maybe this is not required. But if you work for blockchain, smart contract, cryptocurrency, then of course you need to know how to create blockchain applications. Okay, and then there are also more advanced infrastructure type of programming or big data, more modern big data, database, big data programming, cloud computing, and so on. So those are the typical job skills required by software developers. And for the AI machine learning developers and engineers, now the one of the most popular programming language is Python. I put a comment here. I think it's less important about the programming aspect. It's more important about the machine learning related to AI and the machine learning algorithm very well. Because for each type of problem, it also improves very fast. There are a lot of new research, new results. So for example, you need to know natural language processing very well. You need to know computer vision algorithms very well, and how to use deep learning and write a deep learning algorithm to implement certain new methods just published, invented by some professors, right? So the aspect, the more important aspect is the AI machine learning algorithm. It's less important on the programming side, because programming actually is also quite complicated. You need some experience, so your program is stable, there's no bug, everything is smooth, right? So this, so that's the difference. And of course, machine learning AI, a lot of them, the underlying theory, it's statistics or optimization. So for those kind of professionals, more high-end one, I think they also are well trained in statistics, applied math, and optimization. So for the data scientist, they're similar, but a little bit different, shifting more toward the statistics numbers side. So they need to know Python or R, the statistics programming tools or software. And they need to know some data visualization tools, like Tableau is the most popular one. They need to know database because we are handling data. So need to know, especially if they work for a large company, the data structure could be very complicated. So they need to know database, big data, and then how to integrate, pull data from different kind of data sources. They need to know related machine learning, the machine learning algorithm related to data mining and then forecasting model. So the math behind it is statistics again, and then they also need to know some of the econometrics when they try to apply those data mining models in finance. Okay, so the domain knowledge is much more important. Domain knowledge means finance, investment, derivatives, or marketing, depending on what kind of forecasting problem you try to solve. So the last part is the job role related to financial engineering or quant analyst. If you just go to the job posting website to see that kind of job advertisement. So you need to know finance, you need to know investment, derivatives, you need to know more about the traditional finance and the related financial math, depending on your job role is how much is the technical aspect you need to work on, right? So if it's more technical rather than the market research or analyst side, then you need to know more about the related math, how to do optimization, how to solve some complicated math problems. So yeah, and then nowadays, a lot of that kind of job roles require knowledge in machine learning, preferably knowledge in machine learning, especially natural language processing or data science. So those are the job skills for the FinTech job roles. And next, I'll move on to our master program, how it fit the demand gap of those FinTech job skills. So first, Asian Institute of Digital Finance is where I'm working for. In just last year, MAS, NRF, and NUS jointly announced the establishment of our AIDF. But actually, behind the scene, we already worked together to plan this for several years. So the AIDF is a FinTech Research Center, the high-level one at the NUS level. So under AIDF, we have several very large research grants led by computer science professors or finance professors. And we also have a new master program, a new PhD program, and series of training classes for working professionals. And we also have a FinTech startup incubation center. So if you are interested in, you can go to our website to find more information about each one of the aspects. Okay, today I'll focus on master program and then briefly about the PhD program. So our founding director is a very well-known, famous finance professor, Professor Duan Jinquan. He's from finance, and our faculty members come from different faculties in NUS. So many of us come from school computing too. So we have majority from school computing and the finance. And we also have some professor from quantitative finance from the Faculty of Science. For the list of supervisor, you can go to our website. So about our master program, so it's a joint program by NUS School Computing and NUS Business School. So almost all of the teaching are provided by School Computing or Business School. The administrative issues is managed by AIDF. So our program is a 1.5-year program, 3 semesters. And the first cohort just started this year, August. So I think at least half of you, I guess, are interested in applying for our program. Then you will be second cohort. Our target number, again, you will be 50 to 60 students. We will try to recruit. And another important information is because we are new. So for now, we only have full-time program. And but our plan is in the 3rd year, we're going to admit part-time students. So if you are Singaporean, you have a full-time job, probably you have to wait until next cohort, the 3rd cohort, when we start to accept part-time students. Okay, so that's here. And again, the target job roles we are trying to train are the FinTech software developer, FinTech data analyst, or quantitative analyst with more training in programming and the computing. Okay, so the tuition is here. So the program structure highlight. Our program, the core module are 28 MC. At NUS, 4 MC is equal to a 4 semester class. So to be more precise, our required modules include 5 full semester classes modules and the 4 half semester modules. And the student also required to take 3 electives. And we also have a FinTech capstone project. It includes a career preparation workshop, help you to learn how to prepare resume, do interview, work for the internship, and a series of industry seminars talk in the 2nd semester of the master program. And more importantly, internship for about 5 months. For the second cohort, then you will be May 2023 to October 2023. So you will be summer and the most of the part of your last semester in the master program. So for our existing first cohort of the student, they will do the internship starting in May 2022 until the October the next year. So for the internship, we will prepare the employers for you, and usually they are the large companies in Singapore. Okay, so if you are interested in the detail, the information, the details is also on the internet, so you can see the requirement, the detail, the timeline. So more details about the core modules. So you will learn the FinTech foundations, computing foundations, and finance foundations. So the first class, it will be FinTech innovations for consumers, digital transformation for financial institutions, and 2 classes about blockchain. One from the business perspective, the other one more about the programming perspective of blockchain innovations and applications. We have a 4 semester class for machine learning in finance. And for the computing foundation, for students not coming from computer science background, they are required to take Python programming and the data structure and algorithm. For the student don't have finance background, they are required to learn introduction to finance and financial modeling. So for students, they already learn any one of the 6, 7, and 8. They can replace it by other electives, particularly enterprise system, fundamentals of data analytics, AI, or software engineering. Okay, so later I'll answer your question. I think many of your questions probably related to admission. So in terms of admission, the target students, we will target a student, of course, all of the computing background and the finance background. So these are the 2 large groups. We also admit students who come from science and engineering background. So without knowing too much about finance or computer science, usually they are coming from statistics, EE, or industrial engineering. Okay, so these are the target students' background. And in terms of GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, IE, LTS, our requirement is similar to most of other NUS master programs. Okay, so we will evaluate all the candidates based on all aspects. We don't have, for now, our admission committee, we didn't set a say color or threshold for any one of these standard tests. Okay, but we will, if one of your standard tests is very low, of course, it's disadvantageous. Then you need to have something very strong on other aspects, so you'll be admitted. But in general, the key points, we will pay attention to all aspects of the applicants. So that includes the reputation of your university and what is your undergraduate major and the GPA. Okay, so I think these 2 are quite important. And if you have work experience, that will be very good. If you don't have work experience, it's not a requirement, so it's also fine. Okay, so of course, if your work experience is related to finance or programming or better FinTech directly, that will be advantageous to your application. Okay, so if you don't have related work experience, related project experience, research experience, then of course those are also very strong plus to your application. And we pay attention to standard tests, awards, and the reference letters. To be frank, I think these are relatively lower, less important. We pay more attention to the first few criteria. So some of the applicants always ask about the work experience. So no work experience is fine. We will admit a student without work experience, but students with relevant work experience are more welcome. Okay, they will have advantage over the student without work experience. And our application is already open, and the deadline is January 31st. So please submit your application before that. And our evaluation procedure, we don't give admission, we don't give admission offer before the deadline. So this year, our plan is after the deadline, we evaluate everyone. We will try to finish as soon as possible. Then we will notify all of the applicants. We don't do rolling basis evaluation, don't do rolling basis admission or rejection. Okay, so why studying with us? So our academic capability has been recognized in all of the ranking, right? You open all of the news media. I think NUS has been ranked very high, not just in QS ranking, also the Times Higher Education and other rankings. So the newest ranking, we rank 11 globally, especially computer science ranked number 4, accounting and finance ranked number 13 globally. So in Asia, usually we are number 1 or number 2. So also our program, I'm very sure when we draft our curriculum, we compare to other FinTech master programs in Asia. So almost all other programs, they are not joint program by computer science and the finance. Okay, some of them they are offered by financial engineering professors. Some of them they are under only business school or only computing. We are among the very few. It's really FinTech by computer science and finance professors. I think that's a very unique strength of our programs. So you really learn from, say, computer science from computer science professor and finance from finance professors. So, and also the FinTech and the economy prospect I already shared with you in the first half of the talk. It's very optimistic and promising in Singapore. Living in Singapore, if you are not local students, living in Singapore is also safe, very safe, cleanest, lifestyle is also very good. And a lot of time you compare to Hong Kong, then the living space here is also much better compared to, say, Hong Kong. And I have my PhD in New York. In New York, generally speaking, probably the largest financial hub in the world, but a lot of time, say it's not safe, it's not clean. I think it's definitely fair to say that. Okay, so there are a lot of positive advantages of living and studying in Singapore. So we also have a PhD program. I think usually the applicants is smaller number. If you are interested in, you can email me later. Let me just highlight a few things. So again, the target student is the same, okay? Computing, finance, or science and engineering students. But because this is PhD program, students are expected to do academic research. Master student, we expect to train them to work for local companies. So for the PhD program, the PhD students should have stronger training in, say, theory, math, statistics, or computer science. Okay, so you'll be 4 to 5 years. Again, academic oriented. This is not an industry PhD program. We provide very generous scholarship, among the highest in US. So 6,000, 5,500, 3,000 for Singaporean, PR, and the international students. So I think in all 3 cases, this among the highest. So, and the program itself, you can find the details on the internet. It's quite flexible. It's a personalized, interdisciplinary. So we are under, NUS have a NUS graduate school. Under the NUS graduate school, there are several interdisciplinary PhD programs. We are one of them. So and you will focus on research. So you won't take too many modules. The module requirement, 6 classes for the master's, for student with master degree. And the 32 MC, which means 8 classes for the students without a master degree. Implicitly, that means we do admit students with only undergraduate degree, okay? But then again, master degree, of course, it helps in your application. But if you are like first-class honor students from NUS, you definitely have a very good chance to be admitted. So we have a list of supervisors. You don't need to find a supervisor before being admitted, but you can talk to the professor to see whether there is a common field of the interest. Again, you don't need to have a supervisor. You can just apply directly. But write your research statement of purpose well, so we know your research interest, which is important because we are interdisciplinary. And then every year we have some areas we need more PhD students, so you need to clearly state your research interest and why you are interested in that and your background. Like what are the class you take very well on your transcript, you do some kind of research project with professor in the past related to, say, blockchain. Right, so you need to mention that and explain it clearly. So the application deadline is mid-January. If you are interested in, submit your application before the deadline. Okay, so that's all for my sharing session today. Now we open up to question. Yeah, so feel free to ask your question about the FinTech job roles, skills, or of course, I can answer much better about our master program and the PhD program. Anyone?
No questions. Okay, then I'll ask something.
Yes,
So generally,
sure.
what is the age range of your students, or the gender also? Is it
okay?
Breakdown of the class.
Okay, so gender is quite balanced. So to be frank, actually, we pay attention to that. So for the admitted student in the first cohort, it's really quite balanced. I think we have slightly more, but for the gender, I think it's really less an issue. We'll try to balance it. And for the age, most of the admitted students, they are fresh graduates, so they are quite young. Okay, but we do prefer students to have some work experience. Yeah, especially the PhD and the master student program could be different. I think for the master program, I think have some work experience definitely helps. And if the student is older, then that's also fine. We will evaluate all aspects. Yeah, it's not disadvantage. But for the PhD program, because it's different, we try to train academic researcher. So most of the students probably they are younger. Yeah, and the work experience is also less important for the PhD program. Yeah, did I answer your question or?
Yep. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? Feel free to ask.
You mentioned there are certain research topics that the university will prioritize, right?
Yes.
What are those?
Okay, so I should clarify, it's not university prioritize. Yeah, although some of the topics, of course, at the university level or government level, they will have certain priority. Okay, but I like to clarify what I meant about the research topic we have priority is like I mentioned earlier when I give an overview of our AIDF research projects. For example, we have 5 research projects and they focus on different direction. And so the PhD student, we hope they can be more evenly distributed in different research area. And I think at the NUS School Computing is also the same. We try to admit PhD students who are evenly interested in all of the areas in computer science. But you can imagine nowadays, because I'm also on the admission committee for the school computing. So you can imagine nowadays, everyone interested in deep learning, AI, machine learning for everything. Yeah, but computer science is not just AI and the machine learning. Yeah, so similarly for the FinTech PhD program, yeah, so there are some areas we need more PhD students.
Yeah, so which are the areas that nobody wants to go?
For now, I think I would say blockchain, IT security, blockchain direction. from the first cohort. The PhD program I didn't mention, the first cohort of the PhD student, they also started this August. So in that cohort, we don't have any student, they are interested in blockchain IT security. Yeah, so that's one area we lack student. Yeah, the other area probably green finance, but they are for the PhD program, we admit 5 students per year, which is public information. So in the first cohort, we admitted 5 students. So next year, we also target to admit 5 more students. Yeah. So for the green finance, because the PhD student, they decide the supervisor after 1 semester or 1 year. So we have some admitted the PhD student, they have finance background, but I'm not sure they will work on green finance. They will work on more traditional financial topics, but related to technology, but not necessarily green finance. So if the student doesn't work on green finance, for example, which is an important topic, we have priority from MAS and also NUS, then for the second cohort, we may pay more attention to students. They say they have background, they're interested in green finance. That's another example in the research area. Yeah. So is there another question? Let me see. Is there any funding provided from skills feature with regards to the course fee, especially for Singaporeans? Okay, that's an important one. Okay, so for the scholarship, the question is there any funding provided from skills future with regards to the course fee, especially for Singaporean? Okay, I thought about create a slides about that. And so one advertisement, we will have one information session for international students next week. We also have another information session for our program in the early January. I think January 3rd, Friday. So in short, I can answer this question now. We have scholarship for the local students. Okay, so roughly speaking, maybe 5 to 10 local students, they will get some scholarship. Okay, but it's merit based. It's not for all of the local applicants. So, but how to allocate the budget for scholarship, we are still discussing, but definitely they are. In the first cohort, we also give out scholarship. So that's one funding from us, from AIDF, to the master student. PhD student, I think is very generous, like you already see. They don't need to pay anything. We pay them to study. Okay, I understand for the master student, the tuition is on the high end. So that's one side, one thing. And there are several other government scholarships, not just, how to say, it's not specialized for our master program. Okay, so that you can Google because there are many different funding sources. So some of our first cohort students, they got that kind of scholarship. So that's the second case. And then the third case you are asking is the skills future. So directly our modules, the one I just presented, is not funded by skill future. Okay, but at the school computing, we have a computing certificate, fundamentals of computing certificate. That one is funded by Skills Future. And if you take that program, it's a computing certificate. Some of the modules are exactly the same. The two I mentioned earlier, let me go back. Okay. Yeah, these two modules, it's in that IT computing certificate. So if you already take these two modules, then you can be waived. You see what I'm saying? So when you take the IT computing certificate under school computing, that is heavily subsidized under Skills Future. So in some sense, these two module fees are free, almost free. I think 90% subsidized. And when you start our master program, you don't need to take these two classes. So you can take AMC less modules. Your tuition will be reduced proportionally. So that's the funding source directly related to Skills Future. Yeah. Any other questions? So there are 3 types of scholarship. One is we provide scholarship. Yeah, but roughly speaking, you can expect 10K up to 20K. How much is the budget? How to allocate it? We are still discussing, and that's the first one. The second one, government and our local banks, they have various kind of scholarships, so you can go to check their website. So of course we are NUS, so locally I think usually we will fit the criteria. Okay, so the third one is directly about Skills Future. Our classes are not directly funded by Skills Future, but NUS SOCs, we have a certificate. So the certificate is can be funded by Skills Future, and the certificate includes these two modules. So if you take the certificate, you can waive these two, and then your tuition is like this one maybe like 15% off, right? AMC out of 52. So roughly 10 to 15% of the tuition can be reduced. Yeah. Any other question?
I have one quick one.
Yes.
Yes. What kind of interesting research can students expect to get their feet wet at AIDF? What kind of interesting research for students, for graduate students? Thank you.
Okay, so for the master student, it's more industry oriented. So I'm not sure you're asking for the PhD student or the master.
It can be for either one.
Okay, because indeed it will be quite different. The master program, it's industry driven. Let me try to. Yeah, I didn't put the slides about the capstone project. Yeah, so for the capstone project, you can select internship or academic project. Okay, so then if you select internship, then it's internship, nothing related to research directly. And if you select academic project, then depends on the professor. So usually it will be like a real academic project. You will be like a research assistant for one of his research project. Okay, and then our program is very interdisciplinary. They are computer science professors, they are finance professors, so their research angle and the method are very different. Yeah, so for computer science professor, most of the professors working on some kind of new algorithm, new theory related to all of the FinTech technologies. Okay, some of the professors probably their work is more applied, developing a system or developing some kind of applied data mining forecasting models. That's also possible. So for the finance professor, they focus more on the finance theory and the empirical research based on various kind of regression model, time series model to analyze finance research subjects they are interested in. So it's quite different. Yeah. So for both PhD and the master student, they could work with finance professor or computer science professor. Then the research could be quite different. Yeah. Did I answer your question? Or if you feel any part of it is still not clear enough, you can let me know. Yeah. Yeah, so you can we provide a list of potential supervisor on the on our webpage. You can go there and then go to the professor's website, right? Professor usually lists all of their publications. Then you can download one or two. The topic, the title looks like you are most interested in, and try to find out a little bit more about what exactly is that kind of academic research. Okay, so that's one thing. And then also for the master program, we are more flexible. So the supervisor can be any of the NUS professors, but for the PhD, you will be only on the list of professors on our webpage. But for the master program, your academic capstone project supervisor, it can be any NUS SOC or finance professor. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Vivian, for sharing more in the chat. So for those of you interested in, you can go to our website to see more information about the master program or the PhD program. If you have questions, you can email us. Any other question?
Okay, last one. What other industry fintechs that are also in collaboration with AIDF on the different projects?
Okay, so I think our director, Prof. Duan, he has a company doing the smart credit analytics, and also he has a project based on the SME consortium. Yeah, so there will be several companies they participate in that large project, and so in terms of master program, then we have internship. So in our management committee and the steering committee, we have say representative from all of the major local banks. So for the local banks, we all have internship projects with them. And for the PhD research or say professors' academic research projects, then it's case by case. So different professors, they have different say relationship with the industry, and one professor may have multiple projects, and some of the projects is also talking to say banks or startups to try to collect data from them and then analyze their data, say build some kind of interesting forecasting model to help them solve the business problem they are interested in. Okay, and yeah, so if you ask from the say master programs perspective, then there are a lot of the possible capstone project collaboration. We try to cover almost all of the important fintech areas in Singapore, so you don't need to worry about say the internship is only in the narrow area. Say only the banking. We will try to include say cover banking, investment company, and insurance company, and all kinds of fintech startup. Yeah.
Thank you. This is very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if no, then I thank you all for coming, and thank you all for the questions. So if you want to apply our master program or PhD program and have any questions, feel free to email us at any time. Okay, we will reply to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Have a nice day. So we have more talks and the sessions today, and several master classes. So you can move to participate in other sessions later today. Thank you.